Okay, so today we're going to talk about arrays. So, um, in real life, right, we often would say a list of things. For example, I have like a list of people, right? So I'll have their names on it. Right, so a list of people. I could also have a list of numbers. So this might be like grades or um, people's age, whatever, right? So we have a list of numbers, and we can have a list of various things, right? So we could have a list of, machines or turtles or songs, right? So in real life, we have a list of things, and it helps us sort of organize uh, a collection of the same things. So the same types, essentially. So in Java, we also have lists, and they're called arrays. Okay, so these arrays hold, uh, first of all, maybe let's talk about the primitive types. Right, so what are some of the primitive types that we've seen so far? So maybe pause the video for a second and think about what are some of the primitive types that we've seen so far. Okay, so some of the primitive types that we've seen so far, right, are, for example, integers, doubles, booleans, right, and um, characters, right, so char. Now, what about some other types? What are some of the other types that we've talked about? So the other types are all objects, right? So they're all objects, or we can call them classes. Right, so what are some of the objects that we've seen so far? Well, first of all, we know that string is an object or class. More precisely, it would be a class. What about turtles, right? And the the sort of idea and the class that we're going to lead up to in this um, for loop uh, section is pixels. So we're going to be working with pictures. Okay, so here are some of the things that we can store in arrays. So, for example, if I want to create an integer array. So, for example, if I want to have a list of numbers, I can do that. I can do exactly that. So let me go over to BlueJ, right? And here, what I can do is I can create an integer array. So let me just create an integer array. And actually, before that, let's sort of talk about how we usually um, create variables. So how do we create variables? Well, I've already typed int, right? So we know first we need the type, and then so we need the type, right? And then what else do we need? The next would be name, right? Equal sign, and then we would have the value, okay? And then we have a semicolon in the end. So following this sort of scheme, following this syntax, int is the type, name, let me just say number, right? I'll type the equal sign, and I will have 5, for example, right? So now, sort of following a similar scheme, similar syntax, um, we can do the same thing for integer arrays. Now, integer arrays or arrays in general, they have a specific way of um, indicating that it's an array. So first we type int. Okay, so we know that this array is going to be an integer array. And to specify that it actually is an integer array, we type in these square brackets. Okay, so we do that. So integer array, and I'm going to call this list, right? Because this arrays are also known as lists. So we can maybe say like a number list. Okay. Now we have the equal sign. Now here's where the value comes in, right? So when you create an array, you also need the new keyword, and then you would need the type of it again. So again, the type of this is an integer array. And now we want to sort of fill the array with some previous preset values, right? So let's just say I want to have the numbers 1, 2, and 3 in there. And now we've created our array. And so just to go over what we went over so far, so let me go back to here. And so far we've created an integer array, right, named number list, and we set that to new int array 1, 2, 3. And again, if you were not following along, I would suggest you to follow along with what I just typed, so that you can also get a hands-on practice of and hands-on feel of what the code really looks like. So first, what do we have here? What is the type of this number list variable? Take a pause for a little bit and think about that. Okay, so the type of this number list is an integer array. Okay, so we know the type of this number list is an integer array. Now, what about the name? What's the name of this variable? Well, we know from here, number list, that's the name of the variable, or the array. Okay. Now, can you guess? I mean, I guess I already said it, but can you guess what elements or what items are in this list? So it would be 1, 2, and 3. So these are elements of the list or the array. You can also think of them as items in list. Okay. All right. So now what I want you guys to do is I'm going to come over here, back here again, and I want you guys to create an array. And let's say you want to create a list of names to invite to the party. How would you do that? So I want you to create an array or a list of names to invite to your party. How would you do that? So go ahead and pause this video and try it out on your own, and then come back when you think you've got it, and we'll reveal the solution. Okay, so here's what we're going to do, right? We know that a list of names is more like text, right? So when we think about text, we'll think about strings, right? So we'll type in string, and then since it's an array, we want to put the square brackets. Okay. Now, it doesn't matter what you name the array of names, but I'm hoping that it's meaningful enough. Like it relates to this, the meaning of this list. So for example, you could have a name list, right? Or you could say names to invite, right? So it doesn't matter what you name this variable as long as it makes sense. Okay, I'm going to keep names to invite. And now what do I need to do? I need to write new, okay, string, brackets again, Now, you could fill this array with any names you want, right? So I'm going to have the name of Alex. I'm going to have one that maybe says Maria. I'm going to have one that says Andrew, Angela, Jose, and Lily. Okay, so now you've completed, and let me just full screen this. All right, so now you have completed and created an array of names that you want to invite to your party. Okay, so maybe try to create some other things, try to create some other arrays, and maybe just mess around and see what you can do with lists, right? So just come up with a few arrays on your own and explore. Okay? That's what I want you guys to do in this video.